Today we're going to look at formatting fonts and the different effects that can be applied to those fonts. In this lesson we're going to be dealing with how to change the font settings. That would be the font itself, the size, and the color. We're going to show you how to do font attributes, things like bold, underlined, italic, and small caps. Show you how to clear the formatting from the text if you change your mind. And then eventually we're going to show you how to modify existing styles. We're going to need to open the files that we'll be using for this particular lesson. So we're going to go in our book to page 133. Page 133. Here you will see that doc file. We're going to open that doc file up. Going to enable the editing of this file and then save this to my computer. Specifically, I'm going to put it in my documents. If you don't have a folder with today's date, we're going to click on the new folder button and type in today's date. Open that folder, change the name from W06Try to adding your initials to the end. In this file, what we're going to do is we're going to change the font of some text. So we're going to select the African Safari. I want to change the way the letters look. The characters themselves, the shape of them is the font. Right now it's using a font called Calibri. I'm going to click the drop down on Calibri and I'm going to scroll down. These are alphabetically arranged. I'm going to come down to a font called Broadway. That changes the look of the text to Broadway. Different look. We're going to change the size. Right next to this is the size. That's how tall the letters are going to be. We're going to change this to size 28. Next, we're going to change the color. We've taken a look at this in our vocabulary where we could change the text color using this A with the red underline. We're going to pick a different color other than red, so I'm going to click the drop down on that. And we're going to choose the dark red. Right next to it. This is in the standard colors, choosing dark red. And finally, one of the last things we're going to do to this particular text is we're going to underline the text. Now if I wanted a standard underline, I could click on the U and that would give me a straight underline character. If I click the drop down next to the U, I will have various types of underlines that I can use. The book wants to use this wavy underline right here. At this point, we're going to save this file. So click on your Save button. At this point, what I'd like you to do is to save this file with a different name. I'm going to go to the File menu, File, Save As, putting it in that same folder that I've been using. And we're going to change this to a Try B file. Now with Try B saved, W06Try B, what we're going to do is we're going to change the look of the African Safari. So please select that. What I wish to do is to set the text back to standard, normal, regular text. The way we're going to do this is we're going to use this feature called Clear All Formatting. Clicking on Clear All Formatting, what that does is it removes any of the font characteristics that may have been applied. That's the font itself, the size, any of the bold, underline, anything along those lines. It removes those particular items. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to With African Safari selected, we're going to use a style to make a change to this. So I'm going to click on heading 1, and that changes the style. While we like the style, we want to make a few modifications. One of the things that we're going to do is we're going to change the font to Times New Roman. So coming up here to the Calibri font, since the font I want, I know the name of, is called Times New Roman, I'm going to begin typing T-I-M-E, and that makes visible to me right away the Times New Roman without having to scroll. I'm going to click on Times New Roman. The next thing I wish to do is to decrease the size of this text just a little bit. It's currently size 16. While I could click the drop down and choose the size that I want, I happen to know that the size I want is one step down. And so what I'm going to use is this A with the down arrow, which will decrease the size by one step. So I click on that A with the down arrow, and that's going to change the size to size 14. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to select this Voyager Travel Adventures. What I wish to do with this is I wish to alter the text. I want to first of all make it bold, so I'm going to click on the B button to make the text bold. I would make it italicized. I'm not going to do that right now. Bold is all I need. But the next thing I want to do is do something called small caps. Now small caps is something that I can't do right from the ribbon. I can do bold, I can do italics, underline, I can do something called a strike through, a subscript or a superscript. These are all the font settings I can do right from the ribbon. If I wish to do something other than these, I need to open up the font dialog box. So I'm going to click on this little diagonal arrow in the bottom right corner of the font group, and that's going to open up the font dialog box. Here is where you'll see some of the items that we just mentioned, the strike through, the superscript, the subscript, but the item that I'm looking for is called small caps. Now I'm moving my box to the side just a little bit. Here you will see that Voyager Travel Adventures is in standard case, upper and lower. The first letter of each word is capitalized. Small caps is going to capitalize everything, but if you look very closely when it's done, the first letter, which are already capitalized, will be slightly larger. I click OK. As you see, all caps, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this. You will see that the first letter of each word, which were intentionally capitalized, are slightly larger than the other letters. Let's go to the end of this paragraph. We're going to create a new paragraph, so I'm going to press the Enter key. Here we're going to type in Australian Safari. Australian Safari, A-U-S-T-R-A-L-I-A-N, Australian Safari. I want Australian Safari to look like the African Safari, so I'm going to start by using the same style that I had picked before, and that is heading 1. Now notice that these two items look different. Why is that? Because after we picked heading 1 for African Safari, we made a couple changes to it. While I could make those exact same changes to the Australian Safari, what I'd rather do is I'd like to select African Safari, and I want to tell Word to modify heading 1 so that it takes on this new look. So here's what we do. With African Safari selected, please be careful, don't go ahead of me here. Point, don't click, point on heading 1. What I want to do is modify heading 1, so what I'm going to do is right-click on the heading 1, And we're going to use this setting that's available when you right-click that says Update Heading 1 to match the selection. What that's going to do is going to change Heading 1 so that the selected text has the look of what Heading 1 will be. In other words, Heading 1 will change to that look. So I click Update Heading 1, and instantly when I do that, you will notice that everything in this document that uses Heading 1, which admittedly is only one other item, that's the Australian safari, has the same look. It's using that Times New Roman and it's size 14. Understand the power of this. If I had, say, a 40-page document that I was using Heading 1 or Heading 2 throughout the entire document, I've completed my work and now I show it to my boss or to a CEO, something along those lines, and they wish to make a change. Instead of blue text, they want green text to be used for all these headings. Well, rather than having to go through and select every item and change everything to green, all I have to do is pick one item, change its color to whatever color the boss wants, and then update my headings, and that will automatically change everything throughout the document. Using these styles is a way to get a consistent look throughout my document, and in the event that I want to make a modification, I can easily change the whole document by modifying the style. That wraps us up for Lesson 6. Go ahead and save this file, and then you may close the file. In this lesson, we learned how to change the font settings. We changed the font, the size, and the color. We talked about using the bold, the underline, the italic, and we showed you how to open the font dialog box to make these small caps. We showed you how to clear the formatting from the text, and then we also showed you how to modify an existing style. We used the example of Heading 1, and we changed the look of that heading.